arrive in the 1879 suite at the top of the stairs when you come in the main entrance, past the Hall of Fame, reminding us of past glories. Mark Kennedy was chosen now to lead the club forward on a 2-year deal. He's on the top table in front of me, flanked by Jamie Russell, Head of Football, and Anthony Hall, Chief Executive. From whom we'll hear first.
Good afternoon, everybody. Firstly, thank you for joining us today whilst I do our new head coach, Mark Kennedy. I'm joined here by Jamie Russell as well, Head of Football. And pass over to the floor for any questions.
Mark, comes in just a second. Jamie first. Why is Mark the right man for the job at this time?
It's been a long process, and that's probably something we've been guilty of. We've not communicating that better. But we wanted to make sure that we've got the right person, someone that fitted us, where we want to go, how we see the club progressing. The thing that me and Mark really struck up a good relationship about was coaching background and academy background. So Mark's been and seen all of the levels for a football club, and I think that's really, really important, because when we're looking at process, there's no harder process now than an academy process. And previously being at Manchester City and Wolverhampton Wanderers, both Category 1 academies, the processes are really big, and obviously you take that through into first team management then. Obviously we interviewed probably 9 different candidates, and we went through different stages, obviously set Mark challenges and tasks and wanted to get his ideas and didn't want to put our ideas across, but we just felt from a vision point of view, a values point of view, we were really, really well connected.
What kind of tasks and tests did you set?
So working week is always a big one. What does your working week look like? Some managers will have like a 3-day leading, 2-day leading. Some will be off on a Monday, different things like that. We wanted something that would fit and work across the whole club. So that, the programme that we're trying to do with the academy, that could align as well. There's nothing worse than with the academy usually a Wednesday is an education day. So if you're losing one day, then you end up losing 2 days, which is then has a negative on the young players and getting the opportunity to train and be around the first team players, and that's what we wanted.
Mark, welcome. How did you find that?
Very natural, to be honest. Something I'm used to, something I've been working on for quite a number of years now. I think in football it's easy. I think people obviously were looking at me. I'm a relatively new head coach in terms of being a head coach, but I've been coaching since way back in 2012, so I've been around a long time. But it was a really interesting process that I've been through, rigorous, tough. I really enjoyed it. I felt a real connection with Jamie in that. And although we're new to each other, a huge importance on my decision was actually my relationship with Jamie. And from previous experiences, I think it's so important that you work with somebody who's aligned with you, very, very similar values, and can see the game and wants to see the game evolve and go forward in a particular way. So in the end it was a really easy decision, and I was pleasantly pleased that I started that process in the first place.
You talk about being excited by the project. Can you put into words what the current Swindon Town project is as you see it?
Yeah, look, I'm a big believer in looking forward and not looking in the past, but I think when I look at the work that Jamie's implemented here with Clem, it's really important that I think we've come through some really, really tough times. I think there's a big, big light at the end of the tunnel, the way I see it, and I'm new to it, so apologies for people who've lived in the past. I think you've got a really, really exciting project. I look at the fan base, the support that you get on a weekly basis. On your average attendances alone, you'd be touching the top 10 in League One if you're in League One. I just think with all those things in place and the connection with the fans and reconnecting the fans back with the club, I think that starts with the head coach building a brand and identity that managers come and go in football all the time, directors come and go, owners come and go, but the fans will still be here in 100 years, and I think it's so important that the club has an identity and a brand that I can be really, really proud of. For whenever the next guy comes in, that he's got something to build on, and he walks into a club that he thinks this is a really good project, this is in a really good space, and I believe that this is the start of that.
I appreciate you want to look forward, but we've in the past been told the budget's competitive. Do you think you have enough support financially?
100%. There's no way I'd have come in if it wasn't. And again, the impressive thing about Jamie and Clem and the board and how they've done things, it wasn't just a one-way process. it was important that I pressed them and I was hard with my question and what they were going to do and what their vision was and what is the budget. How can you prove to me that this is the budget? How can you prove to me that this is real and this is going to live every day? So once we had those conversations and I was really comfortable with that, beyond that it was pretty straightforward.
It's gone on for a while, so where are you with player recruitment? If that's a question for you or for Jamie.
Yeah, obviously we've had players lined up. Recruitment's an ongoing process, so you're always looking, you're always watching games, and you're always, marking down players. The most important part for us was getting marking, because it's really important. If Mark's going to work with the player, Mark's got to either see something in the player. There's no point us rushing to get a player in just for doing that, for then Mark to go, I don't really work with him, or may have had him at a previous club, or something like that. So we're now ready to go, and that's the exciting thing. And like we've said there, today feels like it's the first step. Obviously the pitch renovation started on Monday, and now it's just exciting times. We've brought Mark in, which we're really excited about, and now we can get on with the player recruitment and get everything lined up.
What about Mark's backroom team, and is there a role for Gavin Gunning?
Yeah, look, Gavin's a big part of the club going forward. I think it shouldn't be underestimated what he's done for the club. Certainly in the last year in particular. Gavin and I have spoken numerous times before, years ago. I know Gavin, I know people who know him well. I understand his background, he's got a huge passion for the club as well. So I'm really grateful that the club have supported me with Gavin, and particularly appreciate, which was a big thing for me, that when I was coming into the club I was allowed to bring in what would be my appointment, but a Swindon appointment, as opposed to somebody being forced upon me, who we all like and love. But so, backroom staff, great to have Gavin stay as part of the team. We've important that, but very, very soon we'll be bringing in a fantastic number two.
So yourself +1 plus Gav, and Steve Norton, goalkeeping coach.
Yeah, look, I think we've got an outstanding backroom staff here, and that was a big part of the conversations with Jamie going forward. As I said, it's a two-way thing, and I think Swindon have an outstanding group of working people here, an exciting group of working people there. I mentioned Steve's got an outstanding reputation through the game, so it'll be great. Looking forward to working with those guys.
Just a couple more from me, as we're live on the radio at present. In terms of players, there'll be lots of speculation, but we know contracts were offered to Sean McGurk and Andy Offable, so where are you with them?
We're currently speaking with the agents. Obviously Mark's only been in the door about 5 hours, so we'll actually get officially some real good time to sit down and go through the players. But yeah, we have spoken to both their agents.
I watched them back on video last night, Martin, and scoring down here dispossessing Fraser Digby, Millwall. That was a long time ago.
I do actually. I think Jamie thought I was making it up when I told him, but yeah, no, look, it's a great stadium, great ground, big ground, huge fan base, and even as a player, it was a place that I enjoyed coming to. There's certain grounds that stand out to you, and it's a club that's got a history of having some really good times here, which, as I said, I've witnessed myself. So it's so important that we reconnect and bring them back.
I appreciate you want to look forward, but Jamie, I must ask you, the supporters club are here, but Trust STFC recently questioning trust and confidence in the leadership. Is this the start of trying to turn things around?
I think so, yeah, definitely. And I think we've been guilty of some things and probably made some mistakes in the past, and we're desperate to put that right. And even this morning, we've Mark coming in. It's not been probably a traditional first day, because he's been taking phone calls in the club shop. He's been meeting supporters over there, and that's the thing when we're talking about reconnecting. I don't really think it's been a connection that's completely lost, but I think there's probably more from our side that we can do better with. Obviously we're going to go over to the foundation this afternoon and different things like that. So just so when Mark leaves at the end of the day, whether that be 9, 10 o'clock tonight, we've seen everybody, spoke to everybody, and really made Mark feel welcome.
And just finally, Mark, for me, what is your message to Swindon Town supporters? Because the capacity is getting on 15,000, it hasn't been that since Man City in the Cup.
Yeah,
we'll skip over Lincoln Chintler in the Cup, obviously.
I know. No, it's just the thing I want to do is I want to make sure come in and make sure the trajectory curve is going upwards and onwards for the future. That's the first and foremost. The ultimate goal is obviously to get promotion, build us up the league. But also with us is just to get behind the team, as they've clearly done through thick and thin, and to continue that again. And what I'll make sure is that the team to be proud of every week.
Thank you, and good luck.
Thank you very much, very kind.
Mark, I just wanted to talk to you about your personal style of play, because obviously the thing that stood out about your Lincoln side was how defensively solid they were. which was a bit of a problem here last season. So how important do you think will be getting that part right for next season?
Look, football for me, people have this obsession with football in possession, but football's an in and out possession game, that's a fact. And the out possession thing is really, really important to me. When I went to Lincoln, and I want to talk about Swindon, but I will answer your question. When I went to Lincoln, we were 4-3-3, build up, play out from the back, play out from goal kicks at all costs, be a high press team. What I figured out really quickly was we hadn't got the players to do it, we weren't comfortable enough doing it. And from that we evolved into a 3-4-3 counter-press and counter-attacking team, and we were excellent at it. Ultimately, you build your team around the players. You've got formations are just a byproduct of the people you've got in the building. One thing I do believe I am is an adaptable coach and somebody who can play both. I've always played and worked with possession-based teams, but I actually am incredibly proud of changing the mindset, the recruitment and the style of play that we did at Lincoln to be really successful, because it's not a very easy thing to do. And when we had the ball, we were pretty pleasing on the oil. But you have to work with you have to maximise the qualities of the players and hide the deficiencies at every level. It just so happens in the top league and the Premier League they tend to have less, and that's life. But we want to play exciting football. We will play exciting football. And what we want to do, which is more important to me, is build an identity for the club that remains for a long time. That's the most, because coaches come and go all the time, and you end up with a team that's got a Mark Kennedy player and I don't want to name names, but an ex-manager, and you end up with a Twyford player. We want to make sure that whether it's a year, 2 years, or 10 years, that Swindon have a clear brand, DNA and identity. That's the most important thing to me. Obviously you need results to go alongside that, or we're all in trouble, but I understand.
And you mentioned there fitting it around the players. What do you make of the squad that you inherit here? It's not the biggest at the moment, of course, but what do you make of the players that you do have?
Yeah, look, there's two ways of looking at that. Where something I did in my previous job, we pretty much started from scratch and started again. So it enables you to bring in and create a brand and identity that's connected with the club and that everybody's aligned to. So I think that's a good thing. I think you can bring in players that are going to come in, players that are going to walk through the door excited by the project going forward, as opposed to living with negativity in the past. So it's a clean slate. It's a good opportunity for everybody, and I think it's a good thing that we're in a position there where we can build a new team and a new squad. And the players that are here already, that are contracted to the club, I think are very, very good assets to the club already. I mean, I think we've got exciting players in the building.
So obviously you've worked a lot in youth sides, and also Lincoln was a fairly young group of players that you had there. Do you feel like that's an important trait coming in at Swindon, where again a lot of the players that are currently here are on the younger side?
Yeah, look, it's a really good question, because I think you never stop learning, you never stop developing. I remember seeing an interview with Bobby Robson, long after he retired, talking about never stop learning and stuff like that. I think it's just heavily geared around the younger players that, because they're so young, only they can develop and learn. So I think whether you're 19, 21, 31, 36, you're always learning, and there's always room for improvement. And that's something I pride myself on. I call it player development. It's not 19s to 23s to 23s to 26. It's developing people on a continual basis. It just so happened that the model of the last club I was at was 23 and under particularly, and it was quite successful. The flip side of that, you're only ever shopping in one shop. Whereas when you start looking outside and you can buy 25, 26-year-olds, I'd rather have the pick of everybody as opposed to, I don't want to say pigeonholing, but we were only shopping in one supermarket in my previous club. I thought that was a negative, but you have to respect the model of the club, and it's successful and it's very good. Whereas here at Swindon, we want to bring in the best players, and as long as they can add value to the club. There's no point signing somebody who's 21 who's constantly injured. There's no point signing somebody who's 31 who can't play 20 games a season. So it's about people who are robust, have availability to train, availability to play, and then obviously with a bit of quality alongside that.
Were you given much of a brief in terms of expectations, in terms of where the club wants to finish next season, or is it just kind of progressing?
Yes, 100%. I think so. Trust me, we're not here to finish 15 to 12th in the league. We're here to at least get in the playoffs, and I've come here to get promoted. Will it happen in the first year? I don't know. I haven't got a crystal ball, but I haven't come here to be mediocre. I haven't come here to be average. I've come here to try and be really, really successful on my journey and help Swindon on there. and I wouldn't have came here for 1 second if I thought that we couldn't do that. I had a couple of really good opportunities to work in League One, but I felt the project here, number one, was really, really exciting, but I also felt it had a reality to be successful as well, and I really believe in that.
Just lastly for yourself, what do you feel like the biggest lesson you've learned from your time at Lincoln that you'll carry forward into Swindon is?
I have to have a relationship with my director of football.
Speaking of which, Jamie, what's
Good link.
You set it up very nice. What's the recruitment process been like when you're kind of working without a head coach already in place? How big of an impact has that made to the work you've done so far this summer?
It makes it harder because you're looking further and wider, doing more work to make sure that when we have the sit down, that conversation, and it might be, player X, but we might not be able to get player X because player X might be going to League One or might be want more money. But player Y and Z are very, very similar traits, and we could support them with their journey, might be the same age or something like that. So it's really important that we've got, an A, B, C and D for kind of each position and each type of player. And like Mark alluded to, we're not just going into the young market, we're fully aware of the experience of the first team needs, and we know exactly where it needs to be strengthened.
What about Mark stood out to you above the other 9 candidates, as I said, that you'd interviewed? What about him made him the right man?
I think if you're going to work with someone, you have to have that kind of chemistry. And I feel from the very first kind of informal chat that we had as the very first part of the process, we were very aligned, and we were talking, and you would, oh yeah, I know that person or something like that. So you know you're kind of on the same page. Then you scratch a little bit deeper and you find out about the processes and some of the people that he's worked with at the clubs. Then that impresses you, and then you go further, and then we ended up probably 4 parts to an interview. So it's not just kind of, we look on a menu sheet and go, yeah, he'll do for us, and it's all nice and quick. We wanted to make sure that he was really going to be the right person, and the big part is, it's a massive commitment, and you have to have someone who wants to be here. And I think it was very clear from the second part of the interview process that Mark wanted to be here and wanted to be a part of it and could see what this club could be, like all of us can. And we're just desperate to get working now to really make sure that we hit the ground running for the start of the season.
And finally, this is going to be a silly one, sorry Mark, but people do want to know this. I'm generally on this one. What is your favourite cheese? It's a big factor to the people of Swindon.
I'm not sure how to answer.
Multiple people have asked for this on Twitter, I assure you.
Am I allowed to add on the cheese? I've got no answer to that.
Very well. Thank you very much.
You well and truly stumped me there.
That's 1 on the board. Thank you very much.
Mark, in terms of your recruitment at the moment, are you looking at the squad and thinking there are priorities that need to get fixed early and quickly, or is it a wider, longer term project? And if so, which are the priority areas for you?
Really good question. I think the most important thing is getting the right people. First and foremost as people, then as footballers. I'm not somebody who would particularly want to wait for an A-star player that you'd never get. I'd rather get a B-plus player that I know I'm going to work with. And unfortunately in recruitment, you might say we desperately need, I'm not saying we do by the way, you might say we desperately need a right-sided centre-half, but he may not be available till later on. You might get your 7 or 11 in quicker. It's a very, very tough process to go through as well, because every agent's trying to get his player the best deal. I had somebody text me last night wishing me well in my job. I texted back within 15 seconds about a player they got, and they never got back to me. So that tells me he's trying to play him somewhere. And there's multiple other factors within there as well. I think the most important thing, but I would like to get players in quicker. I'd like to be really, really aggressive with that, but I think it's really important to let people know, our fans in particular, it's such a difficult process, and there's so much going on in the background. We don't want to come out and say we're close to this and we're close to that, and then nothing ever happens. People are underwhelmed, disappointed. It's more important that we give news to people when we've got something to tell them. But recruitment's really slow, it's really hard. One of the things that attracted me to the club is the recruitment team that are here. That was a big part of me coming in with Jamie and Les. And the guys, I think you've got a very, very good model. But it will take time to get players over the line, but I would like to get them done sooner rather than later. But there's so many factors that need to be ticked to get the right player in. And it's equally as frustrating for me as it is for the fans. But if you speak to any club, they're all going through the same thing.
I guess June is a tricky time, particularly when there's the Euros and other things in people's minds to get things done. Last year, I think it took quite a while to get the first permanent signing through the door. There were several loans earlier on. Is dual strategy going to be similarly based on which this is for, but on a combination of loans and bringing permanent staff into the club, as it was last year?
Permanent. We would want more permanent because we know what we're working with them. And the thing is, like you said, we don't want to be developing other people's players all the time. We want to actually be developing our own players, whether that's so they come on the journey with us and we get promoted, or whether we make a huge amount of money and then we can reinvest and do the same process again, but always making sure that the club's being strengthened. This is something I spoke about, I think it was at the Fans Forum, about, you know, within academy systems we're used to, and I'm very used to, all academy players you're compensated for. When it comes to a first team level with loans, you're still paying for that player, but then if they go back to their parent club and then get a move from it, well, we're the ones that have done all the development, but you don't get anything for it. So we would prefer to bring in as many permanent signings as well.
Mark, will you be tapping some of those contacts in academies and lower down the age groups at other clubs for these hidden gems? Obviously you've worked at a couple of very prominent ones, Ipswich as well. There's got a lot of knowledge of younger and upcoming people and people who know about those players. So is that going to be something that you could bring to
100%. It's something I'd really try and promote when I'm speaking to the clubs about those contacts. I mean, Jamie's got a very high-end background in that as well, so I think between us and between the number two we're bringing in, we'll have some really, really good contacts. What I'm always nervous about doing is talking about them, all the people we know, the clubs we can connect with, and throwing a load of names out there, big academies, and no one comes through the door. And apologies, I go back to the previous question you asked. Having your targets is one thing, being able to get them is another, and then the multiple of them. And all the top academies, they want the players in the Championship, they want them in League One, they want them in League Two. Bizarrely, some clubs will say, no, that sum of money's not enough for that player, we need twice that. I'm looking at what's the most important thing, players under the right club and the right coach and getting a minute in the pitch, or somebody giving you double that we can afford. I know what would be a priority for me, without going overboard or talking too long about it. It's quite a complicated thing, but to answer your question, I do think we've got some fantastic and a wide variety of contacts in the game to use.
I think, sorry, I was just going to say on that, I think the biggest thing as well is it the player's first loan? It is a massive factor in it. So we would be looking now at more around like second loans. But it's so hard to judge under 21s football with League 2 and League 1 football. And that's why within a week we will be, you know, watching under 21s games, 18s games, League 2 games, because it's very easy to have your lens like focused on what a 21s game looks like, and sometimes it can be completely unrealistic. So you're looking at a centre half and the club will be on the phone to you, but you can't just take the club's word because they might need him to get out on loan, so they're going to tell you anything to take him, and then you get him and it's like, this isn't what we thought we were getting. So it's really important now that we've got this database of current players starting from under 17s, 18s, and obviously then under 19, 20, 21, where they've been, experiences they've had. Are they on their first team's bench? Are they in and around their first team? Do they just train with their first team? So kind of building up a real holistic like program of that person, so that when they come in the door, you know exactly what you're getting and you've watched them play at different levels. Because at 21s compared to a League 2, if they're a centre half, they might like, anyone can look really good on with loads of time on the ball and hit diags and switch play, but when they're pressed, what do they look like? When they're, you know, when it's set pieces, well, how do they look at set pieces? So again, these are big things. Like we said, we've put together our own database through some outstanding work that Bailey's done, and from that it allows us to constantly track players of where they are and what they're doing, and it's an evolving document. So if I go and watch a game and I'm talking about you, I might be able to add a comment on, I might even have a little chat with you, or I might have saw your dad or saw a coach or comment about you in the game. So over a season then you're actually building a real good library on one player, and we've got that now on several players. So if someone did become available last second and it's 2 hours to go on deadline day, we could actually go to that and go, do you know what, yeah, we could roll the dice on this one. He's not going to be a main player for us. We know we've got our main players in the door, but actually it could be a game changer for us.
And when you get to talk to these players, what's the pitch for this coming season to come to Swindon over if they've got other options on the table? Obviously with a low finish last year, I know we don't want to talk too much about the past, but it's relevant to a player. How do you sell the project that you're setting up?
Loans is pretty straightforward. It's minutes on the pitch. That's what I don't mind going to Real Madrid if you're going to sit in the stand. The most important thing is development, education, life experiences, what it's like for a loan player to be out in the club. I love what the EPP do. I think it's a fantastic project. But I've worked at high-end academies. Some of it's so unrealistic, it's untrue. So getting out and actually seeing what the big wide world looks like. But it has to be minutes on the pitch and working with a coach that you believe in as a player developer and will make you better and give you the opportunity to move to the next level. But for me, it has to be minutes on the pitch.
And for a permanent guys who are a little bit older, a bit more experienced, what's the pitch and how does it differ for them compared to the younger players?
Well, come and get promoted. That's what we want. We're looking for players to come in and really strengthen this team and get promoted. So we look, a lot of experience in players. So whether they've just been promoted or whether they've got 1 or 2 promotions on their CV, that's going to be a big thing around our recruitment.
And last one from me, Mark, interested in your sort of coaching inspiration and how you've evolved as a coach. Where have you taken bits from your playing days, from watching football to make you who you are at the moment?
Yeah, look, my journey was pretty simple. I was coaching first team football when I first started coaching the man. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, so I left the first team environment to go and coach in the 15s teams because I was a student and apprentice at the game. So I went back to school and spent 10 years at it, which enabled me to be ready when I finally got a first team job, to be ready for it. But I think I've had a really good variety of experiences through different academies, first teams environments, being an assistant manager. Being at Macclesfield was incredible. I would have paid them to let me have the job. It was just utter carnage. And I probably learned in 6 months what a 500 game manager would have learned in 20 years. So I've had a wide variety of that in various different roles, from first team level to academies and professional development phase. So I think you take a little bit of good out of everything, but some of my best learnings in life have been the really bad experiences I've had. And without getting too sad or deep, but other than trauma and things like that, I think every experience is a great experience. Thank you.